DORK Podcast with Rich Keefe. It's the DORK Podcast. And Davey. It's the DORK Podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK Podcast.
Thanks for tuning into this special episode of Hashtag Dork. It's another top 50 countdown. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Razzle Von Dazzle. All hail the King Ginger Ale. It's Ryan. Davey, how are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm enjoying this the uptick in spring weather. You want to talk about the weather? Just make it really interesting right out of the start.
Yep, that's nice.
The lowest form of human conversation.
So it was warmer today. Also joining us is Mac and Goo from the Mac and Goo podcast. Gentlemen, how's it hanging?
Fantastic.
Me? Him? Me? Him?
I see what you're doing.
That's from the show.
Yeah. Guys, there's been 50 seasons of Saturday Night Live. They are in their 50th season, I should say. They just had the big anniversary special. They did the whole bells and whistles with the music and with the whole to-do. It was quite something. And this is a topic I've wanted to hit on for a while, and it just kind of made sense to wait until the 50-year anniversary. And so what we did, the four of us, as well as good friend of the show, Billy Lanni, another big SNL guy, we put together a 1 through 50. And if whoever was in first place got 50 points, all the way down to whoever you voted 50th got 1. I crunched the numbers, and bang, we have the perfect list. I will say we were all born in the 80s. So the list may, if you
we are all white guys born in a 5-year span.
Correct. There is a window there. You may see it. But again, that's what makes it the hashtag dork list. If you want to go see the variety list or the Rolling Stone list, go seek those out. But I'm very excited about this list. No ties. We broke it all down. Real quick, I'll say this. There were only 68 total cast members receiving a single vote. So it goes to show you the sheer amount of overlap that the five of us had.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'll say is both of my parents loved the show too. So growing up, I heard them talking about certain sketches and watched some of their sketches. So I was a little influenced by that too. And it's also hard not to be influenced by like those big lists where like if you might have had someone at 48 and they got them at like 20, you're like, maybe I'm not giving them the right amount of credit.
Those lists suck. Stop.
Yeah, this is our list, Mac. Make it our list. Yeah, I remember my parents telling me about SNL. They remember the first season vividly, like watching it and catching it. And then I'd be like, what even is this? Because they were doing like fake commercials and they're doing all this stuff. Like, what is the show? So they remember that first season and loved it. I got into it probably like the first Will Ferrell year. I'd probably work around 95, 90. Yeah. 96 maybe is when I started watching it live on Saturdays, but then Comedy Central for years would just rerun everything. So I don't know if I've seen every episode, but it's probably pretty close. The area that I'm the weakest would be like the most recent 5 years, to be honest, not the rest of it. Because they always show best ofs. I've seen all like the individual character best ofs and things like that. So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the 50 years.
So Comedy Central would do pretty much from 86 until like semi-current day around like 0102. And then when it went to E, they would show the stuff from the 70s and then they would show whatever the most current possible season was. But like you, I grew up mostly with the Comedy Central stuff where I've seen every sketch from that 15-year period just on a loop.
And for me, it was a little bit before that. Like I had a friend growing up who like would tape. His parents wouldn't let him watch it, but he would tape so like we would go to his house and watch it. And it was like the Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman up until like the Sandler Farley stuff. Like, so we would watch that. And it was like 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Yeah. Like I first started like really getting into this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember them watching and like, when Adam Sandler would do like he's like, you got to sit down, you got to watch this. And it was like the Adam Sandler doing like the budget Halloween costumes.
Awesome.
When he's like, I'm crazy, like nose finger man. Like, just like
I'm crazy on the pickle on my head. What is this man doing right here with a pickle on his head?
And I remember being like, what the hell is this?
I'm crazy.
Fucking perfect comedy.
Yeah, that was like, so I remember that. Which in 6th grade was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, they have some great moments. So let's dive into this list. It's going to be all available here, straight shot on YouTube. Podcast version is going to be split into 2, first half, second half. But coming in at number 50, Chris Parnell And right off the rip, I will say he is a part of 3 of my favorite sketches of all time. He, of course, he and Sandberg did Lazy Sunday, which I loved. He also is sort of the interviewer in the Natalie Portman rap. And he is Scott Jurgensen that Will Ferrell kills with like a trident in that one with Pierce Brosnan. I've been doing cocaine and doing push-ups all day. That's how you just want to know. I'm gonna
Oh, Scott Jurgensen.
Parnell, great straight man. In a lot of great sketches. Maybe not always the funniest. He's in Cowbell. Like he's in a ton of monster sketches.
I was gonna say the perv. Come on, guys.
He's one of the in the Cowbell sketch, like one of the most like underrated people.
Yes,
in
so
that
he was
sketch.
known as the Iceman. He would never break, and he got fired from the show. But he was so well loved that Will Ferrell threatened to quit unless they hired him back.
Amazing.
And he's also now one of the best like voice actors. He's been on Rick and Morty. He's in Archer. Like he's in a bunch of stuff. Awesome.
He was also the bad George W. Bush when Ferrell left.
Yeah, that was
over.
Not as
he wasn't good, but he's also unrecognizable in one of the best debate sketches where it's Gore and George W. Bush, and he's Tom Brokaw. You would have no idea that it's Chris Parnell.
All right, next guy.
So I got him. Beck Bennett. Now this is a guy like one half of someone who I'll talk about next, but Beck Bennett, him and Kyle Mooney like started like this YouTube channel, and if you haven't like watched any of that stuff, you can kind of see like what brought them to Saturday Night Live. And again, he was kind of like, if Kyle Mooney's like the weirdo, he was like the straight man to this whole thing. And he sneaky, good writer, and also like, with the little movies that they would do. But someone who's like solid, like definitely solid cast member. And I think he was on for 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
He was on for 8 years. This is the list of performers, right? Like writing doesn't have anything to do with it, but if they're a good writer, we mention it.
I just mentioned
No, I know. I'm making sure. I didn't have it in my list.
It mattered a little.
Yeah. It mattered a little?
Yeah.
He also does one of my favorite characters. He was named Richard Patterson. It was a man with the body of a baby.
Yes.
So
baby
he would
boss.
like physically move around like a baby, but then speak like a man.
Which was an incredible thing to watch. It was a dumb premise, but like if you just laughed at the physicality of it, like it was hilarious.
And then also, with him being the straight man, he's countless teachers, dads, politicians just thrown in.
Definitely. Mac?
Coming in at 48, Heidi Gardner, a current cast member. I think we ended up with maybe 3 or 4 current cast members. She's been on the show for about 8 years now. I think she's been on the main roster for 6. To me, she kind of got lost in the shuffle while Cecily was still here, because I think she does a lot of what Cecily Strong does. And now that Cecily's been off the cast for 2 or 3 seasons, I think she's been able to shine. She's a chameleon. She can kind of do everything that she's asked to do. And she's got an all-time break on that Beavis and Butthead sketch.
Yep, that was a great one. Yeah, she's in a ton of stuff. You could tell how they view her, because she's similar to Beck Bennett. Like there was a run where like every sketch on a night, like she might be in it.
And she does a great on Weekend Update. She has a girl who's like pretending to not be mad, which is really good.
I like that. Yep.
Next one up here, and little tough because he's only a Weekend Update anchor, but he was also a writer for 10 years prior to that, and that is Colin Jost. Now, while he is half of a team, and you could argue that Michael Che might be better at the update stuff, I'm someone who listens to the Lonely Island and Seth Meyers podcast, and the amount they talk about Colin Jost adding a joke to one of their songs or writing for one of their songs, he's done so much beyond just the Weekend Update. He's also the head writer right now.
Yeah, and the Weekend Update thing is it's interesting to see some of you guys, because I didn't vote for Jost, and a few of you guys had him on there, obviously enough to get in here. I think he's good. I think the Weekend Update is an important part. I mean, it's been a staple of that show for so long. I just look back on it, and some of these guys will certainly get to on this list. I have a lot of other Weekend Update people above him.
Well, I considered writing when I was doing this.
I did too.
Well, go ahead, Davey.
So I was going to say, I agree with everything you said. However, when they do the Christmas episode and him and Che write jokes for each other,
back and forth, yes,
that might be the best thing they have going right now. Like Absolutely. That's the hardest I laugh.
I would say for a good 10, maybe 15 years, Weekend Update's been consistently the best part of the show, and in large part because of Jost. So he got a little boost for me for that.
I also, and little Goostradamus here. When Lorne Michaels steps down, I think Colin Jost is the head of the show.
Could be
interesting. Okay, good work.
All right,
next,
moving on. So the other half of these boys, Kyle Mooney coming in at 46. I think this dude is hilarious. From his YouTube stuff to the thing he did. You posted all the time with him, like Larry David doing like the
90s sitcom house. Yes,
yeah,
kills me every time.
But he does this thing. And it's like the most weirdly, hilariously accurate thing. It's like Chris Fitzpatrick. He does like that, like the skid kid in like your high school.
Yeah,
who like have a bunch of knives and would like smoke cigarettes. Like that kid.
Yeah,
and he plays that kid so perfectly. And when they do like the SoCal today, like they're from San Diego, so when they do like the SoCal kids, like I think he's absolutely hilarious.
He's very good. No, he is.
He also has one of my favorite characters from the past 10 years on the show, and that is Bruce Chandling.
Oh, Bruce Chandling. Oh, yeah.
Bruce Chandling is amazing. I think that people might have overlooked him as like he was someone that came in after Andy Samberg, and people just assumed that he'd be taking over the videos and the offbeat humor. But he did more than that. He did Baby Yoda.
He did. All right, we've gone very new school. We'll dip into a little bit of the old school. Who do we got next?
Martin Short. And I'm not going to lie to you. Have I seen all the Martin Short stuff on SNL? No. But outside of SNL, I would argue that he is pound for pound the funniest person in the world.
He might be. I mean, I go Tim Robinson right now, but I think Martin Short is also one of those.
I would also say for like a wider audience, Tim Robinson does not appeal to everyone. I think everyone can get behind Martin Short.
And I think, sorry, I'm stepping on you all the time, Mac.
No, he's a tough one to rate because he's clearly hysterical, but the contribution to SNL wasn't.
Well, for 1 year, it was him, Christopher Guest, and Harry Shearer, right? Is that no?
Yes. Yeah, and Michael McKean.
If you're rating pure funniness, he's clearly
Michael McKean was a 95, Davey.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
McKean came later, surprisingly. They did Spinal Tap together earlier.
He took over for Phil Hartman when Phil Hartman.
But there was a great sketch that him and Harry Shearer did with the synchronized swimming. Was that them? Yeah, that was so funny. Yeah.
Oh, Billy Crystal too. So Billy Crystal was in that. So they had that one season where they brought in the like the big boppers. And out of all those people, I respect Martin Short the most, so he is on my list.
Ed Grimley, right? The guy with the hair up in the air, and he's like, I must say, and he's like the pants hiked up. It's great.
And I would say, one of the things that I think I agree with you, Goo, that Martin Short belongs on this list is how funny people talk about him, and how like. If you've ever, and it's not SNL, but the Jiminy Glick stuff.
Jiminy Glick stuff is the funniest stuff ever.
It's the funniest stuff I've ever seen.
So good.
Yeah.
I saw Steve Martin and Martin Short do their show at like Foxwoods, the two of them together, and it's unbelievable. They just rip each other for an hour and a half. All they do is make fun of each other. And I stopped watching Only Murders in the Building, but Martin Short was the best part. And
easily,
I kind of phased out of that, but
none of this stuff is on SNL. But yes,
no. But the guy's hilarious, and he deserves a spot on this list. I'm glad he made the list.
At number 44, 80 Bryant. Now, I acknowledge she's not the most versatile cast member there's ever been. I just find her flat out funny. Like she's been off the show maybe for 4 or 5 years now, but she was there for a solid 10 years. I feel like her delivery is top notch. She also excelled at a lot of the pre-recorded stuff that they would air, not necessarily live. And a little fun fact about her, I guess it doesn't matter, but it does to me. She's married to Connor O'Malley.
Hilarious.
I will say that I think they bungled her role on the show a little bit, because at the time she was on the show, they brought in Melissa McCarthy to play Sean Spicer. Is that who the politician was? Where just use 80 Bryant.
100%.
Like if you're gonna use someone like Melissa McCarthy, 80 Bryant could probably do it.
They had that great pre-recorded song with like all the women when it was like was it Thanksgiving break or whatever, you're bringing your boyfriend home and like you're like in your old bed. That's pretty funny.
That was good.
All right, coming in at number 43 is one of the aforementioned Weekend Update people I feel like was better than Colin Jost, and that was Kevin Nealon. I loved Nealon. I thought he was, he did the Hans and Franz stuff, and he's in some sketches, but where he kind of was highlighted was his sort of like really sarcastic, really dry fake news bit. So he's not the best. I think we all have the same person that we think was the best at Weekend Update, but I really like Nealon. Part of it is he was the guy that brings Sandler on. He is the guy that bring like all those different characters on. So I thought Nealon was really good. And if we're going to value Weekend Update, I'm glad he made the list. Anybody else on Nealon? No?
I'm not
he's not my
favorite
favorite.
No.
But I do appreciate like the dryness, because he would have Sandler next to him doing stupid shit, and he would just have to like kind of lock in and not.
The subliminal
react
message
to it.
man is good too. Like how he can keep that straight, where he's like saying one thing and then like it's a hard fucking cadence to pull off.
And I remember watching him when Sandler's singing Red Hooded Sweatshirt, and he did like he was like pretending to like write, and he's like dip dip dip, like he just to get him off, just kind of like yeah.
All right, Dave.
All right, so we get the first original cast member that we have up on the list at 42. I had him a little higher than this, I think, but we have Dan Aykroyd, who, the contributions to the show. I think he was on for 4 seasons, like at the beginning. But you want to talk about like writing and stuff? I mean, he's kind of like the brains behind like what like the writing was in those first couple seasons, and the guy responsible for like keeping Belushi in line. Like if you listen to like any of those stories, like they were like super close, and he's the one who kind of kept Belushi going. Because like I was watching that Saturday Night movie, and like Belushi like didn't even sign his contract until the night like the show aired, and a lot of that had to do with like Aykroyd like kind of like babysitting him. So but is a really funny dude. If you watch some of those early episodes, I think his sketches kind of stand out. But again, an OG cast member that needs his flowers at some point.
Blues Brothers, 2 Wild and Crazy Guys. He could sell you a fish Bassomatic thing with the blender. He could talk real fast. He also did 2 Presidents and Julia Child.
Dude, the fucking Bag of Glass every year they would play that during like the Christmas special is like one of the best things ever. Like, what is this? It's like it's a ball. It's a harmless ball. He's like, oh, is it? He like chokes on it and falls apart. That was good. And this is also one where people 20 years older than us would have him in their top 5, which is fine. But like it just never really hit for me. Like I don't think I ever thought Coneheads was funny, and yet for a certain demographic, they're like, oh, fucking Coneheads is amazing. It's like, yeah, not for me.
The movie stunk.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true. But anyway, Aykroyd does crack our list at 42.
At 41, Seth Meyers, another Weekend Update writer sort of guy. Himself, probably never, ever the funniest guy in the room, but he really excels at teeing other people up and letting them shine, which I think has value in and of itself. He was also the Weekend Update guy for like 8 or 9 years. He ascended to head writer on the show during a time where they were very funny. Those are the Hader wig years. So I think he gets a little credit for that too. I didn't think he needed to be top 20, top 25, but him on the list I think is good.
And much like Keith said with Sandler and Nealon, Myers had Stefan. So
yeah, right. He was there with Stefan. That's a good point.
And he had Amy Poehler for a little bit too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He also had at the end, what's her name? I'm blanking. Right.
Him and Cecily did a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like a forgotten Weekend Update person.
Well, the issue was that she was so good as a walk-on that it was wasting her as an update person.
Right. All right. Number 40.
Oh, we got 40. So Horatio Sanz. SNL has this track list of like, they have to have like their fat guy. They have to have like their funny fat guy. And, Horatio Sanz did a lot of funny shit.
But he didn't have any physical comedy to him. That was the issue, is that he wasn't as physically comedic as the other bigger guys.
Yeah, but him kind of laughing at Will Ferrell made me laugh.
He would laugh at Will Ferrell. He would laugh at Jimmy Fallon. He would laugh at himself.
You can't. So one of the most earwig songs that they ever did was the Christmas song with like
him and Chris Kattan. He nails that thing. Everybody in
the tiny backpacker guitar. But he also did he do one of the Wellesley Arms hotels with Will Ferrell? He was like in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Or like, but yeah, like I was just again, I would just love watching Will Ferrell and other people make him laugh.
Yeah. He was in Cowbell too.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was really good.
He was Gobi in the Boston sketch too.
Was he also? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's always drinking something weird and like long hair.
His best sketch. It was his second episode, and they did a best of Horatio Sanz, and they just kept on playing the same clip from the episode prior of his one sketch over and over again.
Was he also in Cork Soakers? Wasn't that?
He was.
Was that his thing? The Cork
Cork
Soakers.
Soakers was
Cork
all-timer.
Soakers is really good.
He's also in Road Trip.
Sure.
Not on SNL, but just
No,
saying.
but just filling out the filmography for him.
Yeah.
All right, coming in at number 39, it is Mr. Peepers himself, Chris Kattan. Mango, Night at the Roxbury. I mean, what's not to like about little Chris Kattan?
Apparently, Tracy Morgan hated him, but that's.
I am stunned.
Oh,
Kattan
Norm hated
didn't
him
make
too,
the top
actually.
20 just based off Goo probably ranking him like 5th.
Yeah, you had him high. No,
I did
forget
have him high, and I want to give him credit for. I just spoke about Horatio Sands, not the best physical comedian.
Yeah.
Chris Kattan was actually a great physical comedian on the show.
He was.
Him eating an apple as Mr. Peepers is some of the best stuff going.
Should have brought an apple on the show with me.
And there was like time he would like jump and like stomp on that stool. I'm stunned. He never fell.
It's incredible. I'm a little biased because the first couple seasons I remember watching weekly, he was a big part of that show. And so he always just kind of stood out to me. The little pocket-sized guy. It was also good physical comedy. Just the fact that Will Ferrell's like twice the size of him.
Yes.
They were in a lot of stuff together.
True.
So always like Kattan. And he was one of those guys that like some of the guys we're talking about here became massive stars, like the biggest stars of the day. Others, nothing. Like this was the height for him, and this was the height for him. Yeah, Goo's gonna give me some obscure.
Guys want some cookies?
So that's
Or do you want
a
monkey
line-
bone? Which one do you want, Keith?
Yeah, give me a monkey bone.
That's a line I say all the time to people, and they just kind of like stare at me.
Yeah.
You guys want some cookies?
Between that and am I not turtly enough for this turtle party? I mean,
Oh, I had my roommate in college would say he would swear up and down that was a good movie. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Master Disguise,
we'll get
Pistachio
to
Disguise.
Master Disguise
We'll
later
get to
on.
that. Yeah.
Come on.
Turtle enough for the Turtle Club? Turtle.
How was that not a massive hit?
Oh my God.
We
What a
may never
dump.
know. Anyway, Chris Kattan was the man and deserves to be on this list.
All right, let's go on to number 38. And I guess I'm doing both of these weekend update people. Michael Che, who has been doing the weekend update with Colin Jost for about 8 years now. Very good yin and yang. The best part, Davey already mentioned it, is the joke swaps. I also love when one of Che's jokes doesn't hit. They'll either just start writing something down or go, we're in the 90s.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that there was a little bit of a gap between the two. I put them right next to each other on my list. I think I had them 38, 39, or 39, 40. I just have a hard time separating them.
I had neither one on my list. And again, I think they do a pretty good job weekend update, but I kind of loaded it up, I think, more with like sketch kind of cast members than I did weekend update people, but to each their own. And that's why we have a 5-person panel. Dave, for another old school guy.
Another old school guy. So probably the biggest douchebag on the list and probably like the worst person on the list. Number 37 is Chevy Chase. But just again, physical comedy, just a really funny dude. Just like one of those, like you could tell there's some darkness there in that man. But God damn it, like is he funny?
If you need a guy to fall through a table, if you need a guy to fall off a ladder, if you need someone to splash a water in their face, that's what you're calling.
That's
handsome, right. But this was a guy that also became like an instant star from this
Yes.
show, and sort of this was the like the blueprint. Like you get good on
Right.
this show, then you get into movies, you do that, and you kind of take off. And you know, if it wasn't for him, as much as we like some of the other guys on that season 1 cast, like who knows if the show even has a second season if it's not for Chevy Chase.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
again,
and I think it's also you have to recognize like the lost potential there. Like if he was on the show for 3 or 4 years, he'd probably be much higher. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Was he on it for 1 or 2 years? 1 or 2?
1.5 years.
Just 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they replaced him with Murray.
Well, they hated each other, and so
Yeah.
there's like a famous story that like Bill Murray like punching him in the face, right?
Yeah. I think
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
I think Chevy
Kattan.
Chase mentioned the marks on his face or something.
Got it.
Yeah.
At number 36 is Vanessa Bayer. For I don't know, maybe I had her 21st on the list, so I guess maybe I'm way too high on her. But she's someone who when I just see on screen, she makes me laugh. Just her facial reactions to things makes me laugh. Every sketch she's in, I laugh because of her. She was really good as an update slide-in person.
Yes.
Obviously everyone knows her Rachel Green impression. She also worked really well in duos together too. Really good playing off other people.
This is a person that I absolutely wanted to hate, and she won me over. Like eventually, like I hate the sight of her. Like she's not funny. And then the more I watched, I'm like, she's actually pretty fucking funny.
She is someone that I keep on forgetting how much I liked. So like the point of when Mac and I did our episode, our Build Your Cast, we forgot to mention her on the show. And then when I did my list for this, I forgot to put her on the list. I did eventually. I emailed Keefe. We had a rule. You could change your list once, and that was it. So I had to add her on. She was so good on Weekend Update and then in sketches too, but she actually found one of her best characters in the second to last episode that she was in, where she was a weather lady who would just talk gibberish, and it was hilarious.
Very good. He also did, was the character's name Jacob? The little boy?
Jacob the Bar Mitzvah boy.
Yeah, fucking great.
Is Derek Jeter your favorite baseball player?
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bear was good. All right,
Like
Dave.
Bubby. So a guy, 35, a guy who obviously way funnier off the show than he was on the show, but number 35 is Chris Rock. Again, it kind of gets lost, in that Spade, Schneider, Sandler, Farley kind of crew. But I remember watching him do like Nat X, like all that stuff on the show, and just be really, really funny. So, and it got just absolute comedy legend that again did stand up and then, found his way onto this and, became a huge star after. But
I also think there was definitely moments with him where he was pretty good. Like he did,
right.
Like he has his own best of DVD. You know what I mean? Like not every character.
Everybody got a best of DVD for a while.
Well, I mean, they have a stretch there where there's some, but I bet it's less. It's less than 50. It might be less than 25. I have to go back and double check.
Yeah, it's probably only like 15.
As I was going to say, because he wasn't great on the show, and if you're just thinking of him in the cast, you might put him top 50. But every time that he comes back, either as a host or as a pop-in, he sucks. He can't remember any of the lines. He can't read the fucking cue cards. He is terrible on the show now.
Well, he's got CTE following the infamous
I got a brain injury.
Yeah.
Way to be insensitive, Goo.
I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. He is distractingly bad on the show.
On national television. Have a little respect. All right, coming in at number 34 on this list, Sherry O'Terry, who is a powerhouse, has so many good characters. That Colette Reardon, they did run it into the ground a little bit, but it's fantastic. The one where she's like got all the bags of fucking prescription pills or lipsticks everywhere. She was good. She's also on that like fake morning show where her and Will Ferrell and
Morning Joe or something like that.
He just fucking screams at her and they like get real nasty and she's just like really
Spartan cheerleaders.
Spartan cheerleaders,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of Will Ferrell stuff, but then she does have a few characters. There was like she also have a weather lady too, I think she did. But
there was one I remember like almost pissing myself laughing where she was like the crazy chick in The Office.
Yeah.
And she was wearing like a tube top and she said something like, I got my elastic basket from my peaches. Like,
yeah, that might have been Colette. I mean, she had a good run, but she was another one that I guess sort of like Chris Kattan, because they were on the same cast, where I just would have assumed she would have been on like at the very least a secondary character on a very popular sitcom.
It's
like,
funny that you mentioned those two together. Tracy Morgan hated both of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you hate Tracy? Why? I could see the Kattan thing. Any idea on Sherry O'Terry?
So this might just be what I misheard, maybe I misread, but it was that she did not treat him very respectfully, and then he wrote in his book that it's funny because she's nowhere now.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
she pops up on Anderson and Andy's New Year's Rockin' Eve every New Year's Eve party.
I think if you're talking like
Barbara Walters, she was one of the ones that she did Barbara Walters, and she did it so dead on.
Yeah,
it was one of the great impressions of like the mid '90s.
I think if you talk about like energy and effort put out there, it's like maybe Kristen Wiig more, but like she's up there for like most.
Well, I think the issue that Sherry O'Terry might have too is that she was outshined by a couple people that are in her cast coming up, and then the next wave of women that join the show
100%.
are all fucking great.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, Sherry O'Terry, number 34.
Sherry O'Terry, it's my turn, and let's go to 33. Bobby Moynihan, who was on the show from 08 to 17, giving us such characters as Snooki, Anthony Crispino, Riblet, and Drunk Uncle.
Oh, yeah, Drunk Uncle kicks ass. This is another guy that it might have been his second or third season. They started using him in every sketch.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, I don't know, like, why are they using this guy all the time? And then you're like, hey, he's pretty good. Like, he's pretty good in a lot of things.
I think so like Keenan is kind of it right now, where if it's a bad sketch, he can at least get someone to smile just by like changing how he says a word or like overemphasizing something, yelling something. I feel like Bobby Moynihan was that for a little while.
He also, in my mind, I associate the two because they came like right after each other. They might even overlap for a little bit, but I feel like he became what they wanted Horatio Sands to be.
Yes.
It was very similar type, but Moynihan was definitely funnier.
I will give Moynihan credit for two things. One, the David Pumpkins sketch would not be what it was without him. Like him dancing with Mikey Day is so fucking good. And he was the one, I believe, Keefe, correct me if I'm wrong, who went on Howard Stern and was like, Tim Robinson is the funniest person I've ever met in my life. He's the first person like to say on Stern, he was like, we have these new group of people coming in, and this kid, Tim Robinson, is the funniest person I've ever met. And I didn't get it at the time because I had just seen like the round ball rock thing.
No, I don't think we even knew. Like, we knew he was like a writer and stuff, and he was talking about it because Tim Robinson was like a little bit bigger, and Stern was basically asking him like, hey, do you ever get threatened when they hire people that kind of look like you, that they're going to get like kind of phased out? And he's like, well, at first he's like, there was this new guy, Tim Robinson, but he's like, but he's so goddamn funny, and like, he's a great writer and blah, 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 whatever else. So yeah. All right, number 32 on this list, we're going with David Spade. David Spade.
I was thinking about him.
Yeah.
And like he did a lot of good things on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and he has this podcast now with Dana Carvey where they talk a lot about they used to just have like SNL people on. Now I guess they're kind of opening up to other things, but he stayed longer than everybody else.
Yeah.
And maybe he stayed a little too long. So he was on that cast that I saw. Like Sandler and Farley had been fired, Schneider and Rock and all those guys were gone, and Spade was still there. And he did the Hollywood Minute thing. He's also the center of why Eddie Murphy didn't go back on for years and years and years, because he had that line kind of ripping his movie career or whatever. And
no, it was the transvestite joke.
No, it was the movie career thing.
Yeah, it was the movie career. Yeah, it was the Falling Star. No, it was the Falling Star.
Oh, it was the Falling Star. You're right. Yep.
And then there was a picture of Eddie Murphy on there because Murphy even called him out, like, well, you know, why the hell would they do that? But he was also in Gap Girls. He did like the Bye-Bye. Bye-Bye thing was a big hit. And then just popping up. And then, you know, some of the great Chris Farley stuff, like obviously Spade is in those ones, like the one with the van down by the river. He's the one sitting there. He's like cracking. He and Christina Applegate are just like fucking dying on the couch. Yeah, Spade was good. So Spade kind of similar to Rock. Like he clearly got outshined by other guys on the show, but he definitely had his moments and was in a lot of really good sketches.
I didn't think Spade was great on SNL. And what he's most known for is the Spade on Hollywood that he didn't start doing until his final season there.
Yeah.
And they would always tell him, why don't you write stuff and do the walk-ons? And he thought it was stupid. He thought doing walk-ons were dumb until he started doing it in his final season. He's like, oh, I could have made a career out of this.
Yeah. Oh, he was great at that.
Yeah, and to Keith's credit too, when you go back and look at a lot of the greatest sketches, he's in them because there were so many good players in the 90s when he was there. He's a part of a lot of those.
Also, he stayed longer because he wasn't fired like the rest of them,
which is so bizarre. And then so he actually did catch on, and he was in, what was it called? Just Shoot Me? No,
Just Shoot Me.
It's a Shoot Me for like a long time.
He's a sitcom Hall of Famer. You have Just Shoot Me. You have Rules of Engagement. He tried to fill in for 8 Simple Rules for Raising My Teenage Daughter. Tough circumstance, but
you're mispronouncing. It's Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt is a movie, Davey.
Joe Dirt is the best movie.
It's pronounced Dirt.
How many? And we'll obviously get to Farley later on, but how many more movies could Spade and Farley have made?
Probably 2.
Yeah. I don't think Farley wanted to do more of those movies because he was really hurt by Black Sheep.
But maybe you go away from it and then you bring it back, right? You go 5 years later and then here they come.
I mean, how many movies has fucking Adam Sandler made with fucking Rob Schneider?
You could have just said David Spade.
I was going to say, now they didn't work together on SNL, but how many movies has Will Ferrell and John C. O'Reilly done together? Like, it's got to be 5 or 6 right there.
Yeah.
But everyone hates Rob Schneider now, and Adam Sandler keeps trucking him out.
He calls him every week, sees how he's doing.
Yeah, Sandler doesn't hate him. Sandler's bringing every movie, every stand-up appearance. Look at Schneider in there. All right, Dave, next,
number 31. And here's a person who gets a bum rap, but I'm gonna say this anyway. One of the better female cast members ever, and that's the 31, Kate McKinnon. Now, Kate McKinnon, I believe, is a victim of her own success. I think they tried to push her to be like the star, like of this show. And I don't know if it was always successful with like the Hillary Clinton stuff and like but her doing Ellen, the Maureen Rafferty, like the person getting abducted by an alien.
That's fantastic. Like, the alien invasion thing. The first time I saw that was amazing.
Now the 8th, 9th, 10th time you saw it, probably not as good, but the first couple times you saw it,
that was great.
So good and so funny. Even her doing Justin Bieber was really good for a little while. A great character and like just a unique. This is going to sound terrible, but like a unique, like looking person, right? So like you're like Vanessa Bayer, like you immediately she draws your attention for right, wrong, or indifferent. So
yeah,
you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
I can't pretend I ever loved Kate McKinnon. She would make me laugh, but I do agree, victim of her own success, victim of the circumstances, because she's the first star they tried to push post Hader and Wig, and she just wasn't as good as them. She was good at a lot of stuff, but you and I talked about it a few weeks ago. Like if she was like the third best maybe on her show, she could have been awesome because she only would have been in 40% of sketches instead of 100%. It was just her for a 5-year period. It was all her all the time. And it just, they hit you over the head with it.
And you say, I mean, she kind of carried the show like in that time period.
She didn't have to carry the show though. They had a decent cast.
Right.
Yeah. They just put her in every single
I
sketch.
forgot to put her on my list.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
What are you, me all of a sudden?
Coming in at number 30, Daryl Hammond. And I use Daryl Hammond in this exercise as sort of like my equator or line where like he was one of the first one I put on there. Are you funnier than Daryl Hammond or you're not? And then I moved him up.
I'd find a lot of people to go above it then.
I had him 24th. In large part, like he was on the show forever. I think only Keenan has been in more episodes. He's like the quintessential glue guy. Like we said with Spade, he's in a lot of really great sketches over the years. Like cherry on top, he's the announcer now. He's also done a million fucking impressions, and he's usually really good at all of those. So
need a white politician? Daryl Hammond.
Yeah, you want a newsman?
He's just super useful. And so like that's why I kind of used him where I did, and he ended up right in the middle of my list. He ends up pretty much right in the middle of this one.
My issue is that he's too good at impressions, and he's almost forgettable. I want a little stank on my impressions where it has a little joke to it. It's funny. Like
what about
Phil Hartman's.
What about Sean Connery?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So that was one. I will give you that one.
Yeah.
But I look at the Bill Clintons. Phil Hartman, not a dead-on Bill Clinton. His Bill Clinton was hilarious. Hammond's was okay.
But you want more like caricature, not like an actual really good impression.
One of the best impressions in show history is Will Ferrell's George W. Bush.
Yes.
Does it sound anything like George W. Bush? No.
It's really not all that close.
Well, I get that, but that's also why Hammond's at 30 and not in the top 10. You know, I get what you're saying.
He was number 1 on your list. We saw your list.
Yeah, but he's somebody that I feel like I'm not surprised wasn't a big star after, even watching it because, a guy like Chris Kattan is playing a bunch of like made up characters, whereas Daryl Hammond's playing almost entirely impressions, which is perfect for the show. Like, I think you need it for the show. And even if it's the least funny guy in the sketch, let's say he's doing Ted Koppel, like you at least need something to sort of push it along.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he was in it for so long too. He did Clinton for so long. And then the Sean Connery stuff, like the Celebrity Jeopardy is also some of the funniest stuff that they have ever done. And between
that's all him
and him. Yeah. Well,
Turn
Ferguson too.
Turn Ferguson. I forget.
All right. Coming in at number 29, somebody who's on that same cast.
Stewart grinning like an idiot.
Anna Gasteyer.
Anna Gasteyer is, and I forgot how good she was. The 50th anniversary is really what reminded me. Because when they did the couple, I keep on blanking on their name, but it's Will Ferrell and the wife, and they're singing. And I'm like, I forgot how, first off, funny she is, but then she's also a wonderful singer. And then she did so many impressions on the show where she is, and she came at a time where like Molly Shannon was the big female star on the show. But Anna Gasteyer was really, really funny.
She's great. They did Delicious Dish together, which I believe the story goes, it was her idea, right? Anna Gasteyer did it in like Groundlings or Second City, wherever she came from. I think she did that. They brought that over. paired up with Molly Shannon, and that's a great one. The Martha Stewart stuff,
Martha Stewart, yeah,
was a home run every time. But yeah, at this time in the cast, it was between Gasteyer, Molly Shannon, and Cherry O'Terry. Will Ferrell was like the superstar, but then the next like 3 or 4 best were all female cast members. All right, number 29. Or 28.
At 28, Rachel Dratch. Everything I said about Vanessa Bayer all applies here too. She's just so got a really unique face, which makes you laugh. And the way she uses it is even funnier. She makes me laugh every time she's on screen. I think Debbie Downer might be my favorite SNL character ever. And so just people breaking in that sketch is so good. She nails her part in the Boston Teen stuff too. Like, she wasn't overutilized either. They just used her. They spotted her when they needed her. I like, for Debbie Downer alone, I knew she was going to be in my top 20.
Right.
Dude, Debbie Downer is one of the funniest things that SNL has ever done. I can't think of anything. Like, the first time you saw it, you'd hear people, and it was like, this was like right at the advent of like YouTube. So like, it wasn't, none of that stuff was on there yet, but like, you would hear people talking about it.
Yeah.
Like at the next day, like at the water cooler on Monday,
That's
like
good.
Debbie Downer.
And like
Disney World, Debbie Downer is an all-time sketch.
Yeah.
To Keefe's point too, when the show was 90% Will Ferrell, she was getting those 2 or 3 sketches in every night that were focused on her because she was so funny.
Oh, that's great. And then she was a big part of that Barbara Hernandez sketch. She was Will Ferrell's lover.
The Wesley Arms Hotel.
Shanks.
Yeah.
All right, coming in at number 27 is a guy who was not on the cast with all these people. In fact, that was one of the issues probably facing him. That would be John Lovitz.
I'm surprised we didn't give this one a Goo.
Yeah, he does. Lovitz or leave it.
I love myself some John Lovitz, and John Lovitz is trying to get the critic going again. So
That's
credit
right.
to Lovitz.
So he was also at a very interesting time in SNL, and so they fired the entire cast from one year and brought in like all new cast members. And so at the end of, what was it, the 86 season or
85, 86, yeah.
was like him and everyone else that came in.
And so they did the thing where like basically like Lorne Michaels like throws them all in like a fire, basically, right? Like the fire
and save John Lovitz.
And save John Lovitz. And then John Lovitz came back. And then like Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman and then whatever, they kind of went from there. I remember as a kid, so even before I started watching it, they were doing like a Halloween special, and I was able to watch that. And it was John Lovitz as the devil. And I'll never, ever forget it. He's doing like People's Court, and it's John Lovitz as the devil. But he's another one of those guys that whatever he says to me is pretty funny. Like anytime he pops in on like Weekend Update and does like his little characters or whatever.
Yeah, but that's the ticket.
Yeah, that shit's fun. Him and Tom Hanks, like what a great bit that is.
Acting.
I'll add really just about John Lovitz.
He's really just playing John Lovitz the whole time, but John Lovett's character is
How dare you?
Yeah.
So John Lovitz even stuck around after he left the show and just hung out.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I heard 2 great stories about John Lovitz, about his personal life. One, Janice Dickinson on like the Surreal Life or whatever talked about he has a massive penis.
That's called confidence.
He's got big BDE. Yeah.
And the other thing too, I forget who was. I think it was Ed O'Neill was telling the story. I watched it on like TikTok, and it was right after Phil Hartman died. And Ed O'Neill, who was doing Married with Children at the time, like ran into John Lovitz like a week after Phil Hartman died, and they were like super close friends. And he went up to him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm really sorry." And John Lovitz is like, "About what?" And he's like, "About Phil Hartman dying." And he goes, "Oh, that?" And like brushed it off. But like he was like, he couldn't not be funny. Like in the moment, like he had to make that joke. And like, like Phil Hartman would have loved that joke. He was like, "Oh," and he was like, "What do you mean?" Like he knew what he was talking about. He was just like, "Oh, that? Oh yeah." Like old news.
And he took his spot right on News Radio.
He did. Yeah. And then it lasted 1 season and did not go any further.
The end of News Radio. All right. Last one for this podcast episode, coming in at number 26.
Yes, starting on the show in 1942 and still currently on it is Kenan Thompson, who I think has just been steady Eddie the entire time. He's a scene saver. They've probably retired his best character, which was What's Up With That?
Oh my God.
I disagree. But
catchy as fuck.
Oh, catchphrase.
I love he did it like Beef Jelly was great, but he did he did it like twice.
You ever catch your girl eating dookie?
Did you ever see the one with Googie Renee when he was like that was my favorite.
He has a lot of very similar characters.
I do love
his
the one, and they did it at the 50th with Eddie Murphy, and it wasn't as good. It was cool to see all the stars together.
Yeah.
But the first couple times they did like the scared straight thing, and he
that,
comes
yes,
back to me.
always
He's
good. That
"On
was
your
always
sit down on your feet, and then it's just all plots to movies. It's
Yeah.
so good. Then he always
has also
says-
been retired too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Sudeikis is like, all right. He's like, okay, there's the line. Okay.
McIntyre. No,
Yeah,
but
he's awesome.
He's been good on the show ever since he came on. Is he the big headline guy on the show? He never really has been, but he's been the glue throughout.
Oh, he's
I'll tell
been on forever.
Since he was on All That, this kid has been holding shows together.
he was the headliner on All That. Him and Kel
was.
Mitchell.
Yeah,
I would argue funnier on all that.
No, how dare you?
podcast. That's a different podcast altogether. All right, so there you go. There is 50 through 26. We'll put a pin in that on the podcast episode. We're going to roll right along here on YouTube, but that is the first half of our top 50 SNL cast members of the first 50 years of SNL. And we're back.
Get back in the can, man in the can.
Oh my God, Nick Lachey farted. All right. Coming in at number 25.
Number 25 is Cecily Strong. I don't care who knows it. I have had a crush on Cecily Strong for like 15 years. She made it into the top 5 of my personal rankings of women of SNL.
I would say overall.
I think I had her 16th.
Wow.
I think I had her 16th overall, though. I think she's incredibly underrated when you look at this, big list that we're doing here. She holds the distinction for being the longest tenured female in the show's history. While she may not maybe have the massive highs of the 2 or 3 women in front of her, she's on the short list of not only was she best at Weekend Update sliding, she could pull off the straight man. She could be a zany character. She's really good at impressions. Like, she can do everything. And I don't think she's gotten enough credit over the years. And partially because she just left the show a couple years ago.
Yeah, I would say that, like, outside of, say, someone that has like a Stefan, or like, she consistently, while switching up characters, got the hardest laughs as a walk-on for Update.
So she did the girl you don't want to get stuck to talking party. She Michael Che's like crazy neighbor.
Mm-hmm. She did
Judge Janine Pirlo.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And one of the funniest thing that she did, it was her and Vanessa Bayer did like the ex porn stars who were like trying to sell like Swarovski crystals.
Yeah.
That is sneaky one of the funniest things I've seen in the last 20 years on this show.
I'm telling you, she's underrated the more you think about it.
Yeah, good call. All right, now coming in at number 24, we're going with Jimmy Fallon. Now, obviously, came on a few years after Adam Sandler and looked like he might be sort of like a JV Sandler, but pretty good. Like, whether you like him or not, whether you like The Late Show or not, he was good on this. Like, that radio DJ bit is fantastic. Like, the Man in the Can, the FM Wacky Morning Zoo guy, the one with him and Ben Affleck is great. But like, that's really funny to me. The different shit that he did with like Timberlake was pretty good. Weekend Update was just like a small slice of it. I thought he was also pretty good in sketches. So I thought Fallon was pretty good. And I know he got like, his rap was he would laugh through all of them. And then so people either love that or they fucking hate it. But I was
in the latter, because I feel like he started, if you look at some of the later stuff, I think he started doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And like, the part of this is like, it's improv, right? So like, anyone who's ever done improv is like, you don't do that, or you try your hardest not to do
it's also not improv. Everything is written. Everyone knows what is going to happen.
No, you're right, but like, that's what I mean. Like, and he's the one writing it. Like, it's if you're the Weekend Update guy, that means you're the head writer.
Yeah,
right?
but
So
you heard the thing about the cowbell sketch, for example. So they went through and they did it in dress, and then they come out and do the real one, and Will Ferrell's wearing a shirt that's 2 sizes.
No, they would always
didn't wear during dress. Like, there's no way they
would always change up jokes and stuff, and they would like change up little things.
I'm a Fallon apologist myself too. I think if you're just talking like talent levels, he's probably clearly top 10 most talented people they've ever had. Now, he did some things that were detrimental. He does break all the time, but I don't think we can sort of like give Hader and Mulaney so much credit for getting Hader to break when all Will Ferrell tried to do in every sketch,
all those guys,
Horatio Sands and Jimmy Fallon to break. And I don't blame him for that.
Fallon also gets credit for, he was a really good impressionist, and what he would do on the show is once he did an impression, he wouldn't do it again.
That's
Good
why
bag.
he does a really good Adam Sandler impression.
Yeah,
He does.
Adam
He does.
Sandler,
Barry Gibb.
Jerry Seinfeld,
Very Gibb.
French Stewart.
Yeah,
He did do a good French Stewart.
That's a good thing to have in the holster. A good
You
French
need
Stewart.
that. You need a
You
good
ever
French
know when you
Stewart.
need
And
that?
even like his musical impressions, like he
Dude,
could
it's not bad.
sing as the characters.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like him.
So which is an interesting mix that these two come together. So at 23, we have Jason Sudeikis, who like famously people would try to break and couldn't. And so like, they consummate like straight, like straight as an arrow, would never really break during sketches. There were a handful that he did, and when he did, it was incredible. And you knew that, like, I'm thinking of one in particular we'll talk about later, but doing the dancing guy.
Dancing guy's great.
on
Doesn't
What
he
Up
do
With That?
his jumps and dances in the tracks?
It's the walk off
Yeah,
that he does. Like
And then
that
the jump
weird
back
walk.
in. The
The jump in
and
and then the
walk off.
weird walk off.
Didn't he
that is just
also
like-
not want to be on the in the cast at first? He was just a writer, and they had to like not convince him, but just like
maybe.
start putting him into sketches to get him in there.
Yeah,
Alice
it's possible. Yeah, no, he had a good run. He also came in, wasn't it? It was Sudeikis, Hader,
Sudeikis, Hader,
Robinson,
Sandler,
Forte.
and Wig. Forte was prior. It was
okay.
yeah, but Sudeikis, Hader, and Sandberg all started at the exact same time,
Ridiculous.
and then Wig joined the cast mid-season.
yeah, like that's insane.
He might be the only person in cast history to play both Jesus and the devil.
Yeah,
That could be
like
true.
that.
And he is one of those guys that he's really just doing Sudeikis and everything, but it works because he's funny.
Have you seen Doug then take a long drag from a cigarette rice?
Not bad.
which is basically Dennis Leary, right?
Yes, it's Dennis Leary.
Yeah.
Oh, he also did Pete Twinkle. It was the ESPN commentator with Will Forte.
Yeah, what was Forte's name again? Something stink.
Was it Stank or was it something Diamonds?
No, it was something stink. It was like, fuck, what was their name? I gotta look that
He
up.
also, much like all the other, straight men on this list, is he'd play like countless teachers and dads, and he was always funny in that.
Mhm.
Right.
He's just like that, like middle America, like corn-fed dude.
That's why he works so well as Ted Lasso.
Right.
And he's Pete Wentz's son, right? Or nephew. Is it Pete Wentz? No.
Can't
It was-
believe
it
we're
was
the
From
same
Fall Out
age.
Boy?
All right, I got it.
Yeah, from Fall Out Boy.
It
No,
was-
from Cheers. Sorry.
George went.
George
Went.
Jesus Christ. It was Pete Twinkle and Greg Stink.
That's what it was. And they would usually be calling college girls basketball.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Oh.
That's,
One of the lines is it goes, she just crushed a shot put with her bare hands. I've got to correct you, Pete. She doesn't have bare hands. She has human hands. And people don't really say bare hands. They say paws. Oh my God, those guys. Oh man, we should move them up higher on the list. Fucking Pete Twinkle and Greg Stink. Oh, that's fun. Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.
Anyway, all right, number 22, Mac.
Yeah, 22 is Gilda Radner, someone who we all obviously missed. She died the year Goo and I were born, but she was a part of the OG cast, the first real iconic female performer on the show. She had characters like Rosanna Dana. She did great parody work. She was a well-respected writer in those early years. Like, obviously, she wasn't going to be any of our favorites, but like just on respect alone, she had to be on the list somewhere.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. Go.
All right. At number 21, someone that was originally, they made so many jokes about this guy being in the cast for so long, and now it doesn't seem like that. He was on for like 8 or 9 years, and that is Tim Meadows, who has one of the best recurring characters of all time, and that is the Ladies Man.
The Cavassier.
Some Cavassier. May I suggest the butt?
Yeah. It was good. And yeah, he was a weird one. Not a weird one, but he was a guy that overlapped a few different kind of casts, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
there's a handful of people that you associate with like a cast and a group, but he was with Sandler and Farley and Spade and all those guys. And then he was with Will Ferrell, and then he kind of went past Will Ferrell. But yeah, he had a good run. He was good in a bunch of stuff. Ladies Man is clearly what
He also plays maybe the greatest throwaway character in show history, and that is Dr. Poop.
Dr. Poop.
I don't remember that.
Yes, we lost your baby, but I can do the robot.
I do remember that now. They're very good. Very good.
Also played OJ.
Congrats to Tim. Yes, yeah, he did. Congrats to Tim Meadows. All right, what do you got?
Number 20 is Bill Murray. I think this spot on the list is maybe where Chevy Chase would end up if he got the 3 or 4 years like Bill Murray did, as they both, quickly rose to fame, became movie stars. I think we all agree Murray is much funnier, and we saw that on the show. I think we saw that in movies. And maybe this is more of a reaction to us growing up with some of his movies, like some of the 80s best movies. But I think this ranking is pretty accurate for where he should fall on the list.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really name, he did like the lounge singer thing. You can't really name like a character or something. Like, I don't think they really did like recurring characters then or anything like that, but
they did.
Well, they did like Coneheads. They did
Coneheads.
Samurai,
The Bees were the first recurring.
Bees.
Yeah, but like but again,
Blues Brothers.
Okay, but like not really. Like not
Rosanna,
really.
Rosanna, Dana.
God damn it.
Those are all recurring characters.
They're all recurring characters.
Name more.
Yeah.
I forget that's all. There's patches where that's all the show is sometimes. Like in the early 90s, it was all reoccurring characters.
Yeah, but this was in the 70s. So
no, but the 70s was also that.
Okay, whatever. But again, like probably one of like you don't use like the term like comedic genius.
2 wild and crazy guys.
A lot.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't him.
No, but I'm just saying that's another recurring character.
But Bill Murray's probably one of the funniest people alive.
Mm-hmm.
So
it has
needs
been
to be on this list.
years.
Yeah. Well, it is funny though, because every time, whether it's like the 40th anniversary or a Halloween or a Christmas special or like the 50th anniversary, they show old clips, and it is a generational thing, because you're like, I bet this is good, but like I'm not fucking laughing like as hard as I should. Just like, I don't think a lot of those like 70s, 80s comedies, like the movies, are as fucking funny as people make them out to be. Like some will say like Caddyshack is really funny. It's like, is it? Like watch it again. Like,
watch it again.
I think Caddyshack.
I think he's funny in Caddyshack.
You're right. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that are funny in it, but no, I mean, he deserves to be pretty high on this list. I have no problem with that.
Also, his bit on the 50th anniversary show was incredible. The top 10 weekend update people was awesome.
Very funny. Very funny.
Speaking of people who are very deserving of being on this list, number 19 is Tina Fey. Outstanding weekend update person. And again, kind of in a cast that was like full of like superstars, kind of emerged as like a really good writer. And again, wasn't in a ton of sketches, and kind of did the weekend update thing. It was kind of her staple. But super clever, super funny, super smart. And I think, her accolades after like Mean Girls and like all that stuff is, all time stuff. Yeah. But that, you could see that kind of happening like on the show, like where that trajectory was going. And just a fantastically funny person.
Yeah, I think she did more sketches after the show, either as a host or as Sarah Palin.
I remember, like, was it Jimmy Fallon's last episode? They did that thing that like
Grease.
They did
Tell me more.
Yeah. And it was like Tina and Jimmy, and then like he like just almost kissed her, and she was just like, no.
Yeah.
I agree that she maybe doesn't have the resume on sketches as everyone else does, but you could argue she's the greatest writer the show's ever had, and that carries some weight.
Could be. All right, coming in at number 18, kind of fittingly with Tina Fey at 19, we have Tracy Morgan at 18.
4-cheese lasagna.
Astronaut Jones.
Astronaut Jones is never not funny.
Right?
And you can tell.
I'm taking a rocket.
The
I'm
one
packing
with
my suitcase.
Space.
Now look out, moon. Yeah, rocket.
Like, and then it cuts to him looking at like an alien version of Maya Rudolph. He's like, God damn, girl. He's like, look at you.
There is nothing funnier than 1 minute intro, 10-second sketch, 30-second outro.
God damn, girl.
The one he did with Britney Spears, the line he says,
why don't you pop off that space top?
No, he goes, why don't you drop out of that green jumpsuit and show me that fat ass?
That's it.
And you could tell she jolts her head back. Like that was not in the script at all.
I also They did it like every week for a while, but Brian Fellows was so fucking funny when he's just like talking to like the all the animals like they were real, and the handler would be like, well, can't like say anything, he's not really doing that to you or whatever. He's like, I don't like his eyes, like look at his eyes,
goat to stop smiling at me.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Brian Fellows.
I think I would pay, I don't know, $1,000 to just sit with Tracy Morgan and listen to him commentate, like people watching, just people walking by, because that's essentially what he was.
But also, he just needs to see one person, and then it just spirals out of control.
Did you see him throw up at the Knicks game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
It's because there was too many cheeses on his lasagna, or not enough. I don't know.
No, but and like everybody on this list is clearly funny, but there's probably only 4 or 5 that anything they say is funny, and Tracy Morgan is one of those guys.
And I think that's something that, like, it was an interview with Eddie Murphy, and he was like, everything that he says is funny.
Yeah.
Like, even when he's not trying to be funny, it's just funny.
I was listening to the Lonely Island podcast, and Seth Meyers said that they called Eddie Murphy to do the Tracy Morgan impression, and they said, hey, can you do a Tracy? And then Eddie just went on for like 10 minutes on this rant as Tracy Morgan. They go, okay, so you can do it.
Yes, you can. Very good. All right, go.
What are we on? I lost
17.
17 at number 17. Oh, one of the best physical comedians in this show's history. Much like Tracy Morgan, how he can say certain things funny, the way that she moves her body is pure comedic gold, and that is Molly Shannon.
She
the 50-year-old Sally O'Malley.
I'm
Molly
50.
O'Malley.
I can kick.
Yeah, even the way she moves her body, but the inflection she puts on words too. Like she just has something that not a lot of people have ever had.
She was kind of got to the point. She was almost all recurring characters, right?
Yeah.
Like she got it was between Superstar, Mary Catherine Gallagher, and Sally O'Malley. Then she did
Delicious Dish.
Yeah, she did Delicious Dish. There was another
Courtney Love Show.
Yeah, what was the one with the weird one with Will Ferrell with the dog?
Oh, that Cats?
Dog Show.
Oh, Dog Show. Sorry.
Dog Show. Yeah.
Dog Show. She would also do a like a goth show with Chris Kattan. That was really funny.
Dude, Goth Talk. Hell
Goth
yeah.
Talk. There we go.
Dude, Goth Talk was we should have mentioned that with the Kattan. That was great.
Santa, thanks for the neat phone.
And then one of the guys, I'll spoil it now, shockingly didn't make the list. He was relatively high on mine. Jim Brewer didn't make the list.
Oh,
He wasn't on for a long time, though.
Dude, Goat Boy was great. No, but
Goat Boy was good. He had that great sketch with Cowman.
He would always come in, and he was Chris Kattan's brother on Goth Talk, and he'd always come in and like ruin it and fucking make fun of him and like dump something and then leave. That was great. But anyway, yeah, Molly Shannon was fantastic.
Does Molly Shannon do the best table fall of any female? If it's
So
like,
not only that, have you seen her throw herself into metal chairs?
Yes.
It's bananas.
Oh, it's like
She's
a fucking Bam Margera.
The way she sells it is incredible.
I don't know how she's still alive.
No, she's talked about it, like the bruises, because like she's doing that shit in rehearsal, then she's doing it in the real show, and then she's just like covered in bruises. She's another one that I think she did fine, and like she popped up in a few things. I don't know why she didn't like carry a sitcom. I thought she'd be the lead of a big time show. But
yeah, that's a good point.
What are you gonna do? All right, Dave.
What are you gonna do? So number 16, the OG of Saturday Night Live. 16, maybe a little low for Mr. John Belushi. And again, we kind of have this like time capsule of like John Belushi, and one of like the eerie things he did. I remember like Saturday Night Live, they showed it on like the 50th reunion that like he did this weird sketch where like he was the only one alive and everyone was dead.
Yeah, it's in like black and white. He's super old. He's at the graveyard. Yeah,
he's talking about like but he's talking about like what they did in life and like how they died, and it's like it's really eerie now considering they're all alive and he's dead. But it's one of those like Kurt Cobain things. Like I don't know if he would have been that funny for that much longer, but like the time that he did this funny stuff was like some of the best stuff that anyone's ever done.
Little Bag of Donuts, Blues Brothers, the Samurai Delicatessen.
I remember seeing that for the first time and thinking that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Was the
Samurai Delicatessen
when
he
like
cut the guy's ear with the sword?
Yeah, and he tried to like he messed up the sandwich and was gonna like, but like then I saw like little chocolate donuts.
That's one of the best sketches. Even from like back then, I don't love everything from the 70s. That one translates now.
I also think, and this doesn't really matter, but part of me, gives some of Farley's credit to Belushi, because people were writing sketches and thinking of ideas with Belushi in mind after he had passed, and then it went to Farley, or the great ideas that rolled into Farley.
Well, and then all the sad stories too about how Farley like idolized him so much so, and then it was like, okay, like that's what it is.
And Little Chocolate Donuts, I remember this in my head. I don't know if this was real. It might be like one of those things like Berenstain Bears. Like, what do they call that? Like the
Berenstain.
Yeah. No, but like it's like what are the Mandela effect or something like that?
Yeah, it's the Mandela effect.
Yeah. Did he pole vault in that with a cigarette in his mouth?
Yeah, well, so he was talking with the cigarette. I know
no,
that.
But I know that. But like,
was he running with the cigarette
in the air? I don't know. That's a good question.
I remember him running or doing something athletic with a cigarette in his mouth. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Awesome. All right, Mac.
Coming in at number 15 is Amy Poehler, our number 3 female on this list for good reason. Very few cast members can lay claim to what she accomplished. Consistently funny as the star of a sketch, consistently funny on Weekend Update, great impressions in the way that Goo likes them. She, like Will Ferrell, would make an impression of her own. Amy Poehler would do the same thing.
I got one leg.
Amber?
Yeah.
She's a great writer. Her and Faye always came up with great stuff together.
Yeah.
She also was promoted from featured player to full cast member during her first season, which before that had only ever happened one time. So that says how much star power she had instantly. I mean, in a cast where Ferrell was already there, she became like the 1B almost instantly. So
yeah, she was Caitlin the Hyper Kid. Her dad was Horatio Sands. Yeah, that's a great sketch too.
15. I even think 15 might even be a little low for her.
Maybe, but we're starting to get into like just all heavy.
Yeah.
I will say that her character of Amber might be one of my most quoted characters from the show, of just jealous.
Yeah,
that's it. Jealous.
That's good.
So number 14, someone who was paired with Amy Poehler a lot is Maya Rudolph. And what I love about Maya Rudolph on Saturday Night Live, a great improviser, and also someone who could do anything.
Yeah.
So Jesus, like you talk about, I forget who you're talking about who could sing. Maya Rudolph could sing her ass off. She did a great Beyonce. Anytime she was with Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
I was talking about the other day with somebody, the Prince and Beyonce show with her and Armisen. I don't know why I thought that was funny, but it was always funny.
It was always funny.
Because those two are so funny.
Yeah. We talk about it. Me and my wife talk about it. There was this was Bill Hader, Maya Rudolph, and Kristen Wiig, and it was like this weird game show, and they were like the prize girls.
Yeah,
so funny.
I think Kristen Wiig was the host that week. Maya Rudolph showed up, or one of them was the host. The other one just showed up, and then Bill Hader was the host.
Game show host.
And they couldn't stop laughing the entire time
because they did this weird voice together. The chicken mom, like it was like they just
their own language. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was, and Bill Hader was just losing his mind, laughing the whole time.
Makes sense.
I think out of everyone on this list so far, and maybe someone else will pop up later on, the person who maybe did not get enough due or enough, maybe even sketches on the show, because she is so funny everywhere, is Maya Rudolph. Like they should have used her more.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
But again, I mean, she's with Wig, she's with Poehler, she's
and then when Poehler left is when Wig came in too. So there was so much star power there already.
Yeah. She sort of bridged. Didn't she bridge like Sherry O'Terry?
I don't think she was there with Sherry O'Terry. I think
she started right at the end of O'Terry.
She might have. I'm like, sure, I feel like she was with them a little bit.
She was.
Oh, she was 2000. So, but I think Sherry O'Terry might have left. So, like right around there. But
but because there was
Dratch. I think Dratch bridged with Maya Rudolph,
and then Rudolph, and then you sort of got Tina and all them. But
yeah.
All right, very good. All right, coming in at number 13.
MacGruber! He has a drink or two each night, but it doesn't affect his job. MacGruber! That guy's a social drinker. MacGruber!
Certainly one of my personal favorites. That'd be Will Forte. MacGruber speaks for itself. Was also the Falconer.
Yes.
Was also fucking
Donald.
was also fucking Greg Stink, as we mentioned just a few moments ago.
Back to Stank real quick.
Which was dominant. And then Potato Chip, which might be one of the greatest sketches of all time. He and Jason Sudeikis and Blake Lively all Sudeikis wanted to do was go to outer space, and all Will Forte wanted him to do was not eat his potato chip.
He also had one of the oddest recurring characters of Tim Calhoun.
The dancing coach.
I'm Tim Calhoun, and he really wouldn't say anything except to say his name in that voice.
Fucking awesome.
I recently watched, and again, we talked about like Sudeikis never really breaking, and the one I was referring to is the dancing coach.
Yeah,
he was like the basketball coach, where he would just play this like ridiculous song and just dance.
Then have the whole the whole cast was on the team.
Everyone,
he would just do a whole like spiel. Yeah,
and no one was just doing like this thing with like his.
And they're all laughing.
They're all laughing.
Hater is just like Sudeikis, like hands in their face.
He's also in one of the funniest sketches of all time, where John Hamm is the host, and it's Halloween, and Will Forte's character, as an adult man, was going around and trick or treating, and also saying that he was a registered sex offender.
Yeah,
it's like, so is that your costume? Well, it's my costume, but I'm also in real life. I need to can you sign this piece of paper?
Yeah.
I think he is probably so maybe similar to Molly Shannon, the character or the person that's going to go the most full go every time. The story on the potato chip thing is he was shocked he was even able to do it, because to try to push that sketch in dress rehearsal, he like screamed himself hoarse. So like he had like no voice going into it, because he just went like crackers in the dress rehearsal.
What's great about him too, and like all these sketches, and like even in MacGruber, like his face, like the stuff that he gets like weirdly intense with his face, so and nobody can match that. It's so good.
The guy's amazing.
I like to take old biddies and bunch and mocks.
All right, number 12.
Oh, number 12 is Adam Sandler, someone who was pretty good in sketches. He was an amazing walk-on with Weekend Update. He really created his own type of characters that he then took into the movie business and made billions of dollars with.
Yeah, maybe he and Farrell got to be the most successful.
Yes.
Well,
I would say monetarily, Sandler's.
I'd say monetarily, it's Adam Sandler.
Probably Sandler. But I mean, there was a lot of good stuff too. Like all the songs I like, I'm a sucker for.
Yeah.
The Denise show is one of my favorite things that they ever did on that show, where he went out with Shannon Doherty.
Yeah.
He just had like that call in like local access show talking about how much he misses her and he like wants to get her back. And he had the picture behind her and he'd like call her and then like hang up like all nervous. Like come on, Denise.
Or he would like call her job and like threaten her boss or something. Like he would do like crazy stuff, like crazy ex-boyfriend stuff.
And he'd
like
have guests come on and be like, "You knew Denise? Like you like sold her a sweater at the Gap?" And then they're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Great, thanks for coming on."
Was she with anybody?
Yeah. And then obviously Gap Girls.
Maybe the funniest SNL commercial, which is Schmidt's Gay.
Schmidt's Gay crushed. So yeah, he had a good one. Like the whole story about him and Farley getting fired is just so bizarre, because those guys were making.
To be fair though, that last season he was on was terrible.
Maybe it was, and maybe in Spade tells the story about how it got to the point where, like in '95. The show itself was not doing very well. Yeah. And they would have somebody come on to be the guest host, and they'd be like, I think Sandler and Farley are more famous than them. Like they weren't getting A-list people. Their guys were kind of growing out.
No one wanted to host the show. The ratings were terrible. They were getting terrible write-ups. And one of the things that was said about the show is that it was too much of like a boys club. Yeah. So they tried to get rid of some of the bad boys of the cast.
Some of the alphas.
And I think too that little bit of an age gap between Goo and I and the Dork boys is, by the time I was watching, he was already gone. So I didn't really get a chance to grow up with him. It's all reruns. So I still love him. I still had him, I think, top 20, but he probably, if we were the same age as you, he probably would have higher.
Like Opera Man was pretty funny. Canteen Boy was good.
Canteen Boy was good.
Canteen Boy with he's at the Boy Scouts, and Alec Baldwin takes his shirt off and he's like, "Rub the oil on me, Canteen Boy." And you're like, anyway, all right, number 11. Oh, is me. Let's go to Andy Samberg.
Yep.
I know Goo's a big fan as well.
He saved the show.
I, honest to God, like the digital shorts, every time starting. Well, I know the first one was the fucking lettuce one or whatever.
Don't insult the lettuce one. That was written by Will Forte.
I know. They were smashing lettuce. And that's the thing about Forte is he's committed. He was committed to it. The bit was eat lettuce on a stoop. They ate lettuce on a stoop. But then they come out with Lazy Sunday. And I remember where I was. I remember that my parents' old house, sitting on the chair. Like my dad was watching with me. And I was just like, the graphic pops up, which you're not used to. It's like an SNL digital short. Like, okay, what's this?
That? Yeah.
And then awesome. Just hilarious. The whole thing was hilarious. And then every week if you got what you were so excited that 2 seconds where it would be just written on the screen, SNL digital short, and you're like, what is this going to be? And I think the hit rate was like 90%.
So
well,
first off, this also started right when YouTube started.
Well,
So
yeah,
it was the perfect timing of the intertwining YouTube with SNL. SNL had kind of grown stale with its writing and how its comedy was, and this was a huge shot in the arm for them. And then also when it comes to their digital shorts, they had Lazy Sunday, they had Natalie Rap, and they had a bunch of stuff in between that was good. But it wasn't until Dick in a Box, which they wrote in 2 days and they shot in 2 days on a Friday into their Saturday, which then Lauren assumed that they could always do that in 2 days. But after the success of Dick in a Box, when they would put up the cards for the week, they would always have the cold open, the monologue, weekend update, and a digital short. Which is an honor, but they're like, we have to think of something every week
and shoot it and edit it.
Yeah.
And I love Sandberg, and I do think he deserves some credit for saving the show, because I had stopped watching post Will Ferrell. There was a couple good cast members there, Forte. I had stopped watching, and then the digital shorts wrote people back in, and when you get roped back in, who's on the cast? Hater, Wig, like you get roped back in to a really, really good cast. So thank you to Sandberg for that.
Yeah, and again, like you said, at a time where like that was at the time too. They were talking about like, is this the end for Saturday Night Live? And then these things came out. But Jesus Christ, I thought he was going to be like this goofball, like Sandler-esque, and he's better. I think he's better on this show than Sandler was.
I think he also was. And
on the show, I think so.
He also knew that he was bad at impressions, and he would just lean into it.
There's that great story on the SNL documentary when both Andy Samberg and Bill Hader are talking about auditioning for the show.
Yeah.
And Samberg brought like a ton of props. So he brought like a ton. He's like, part of my like act was like just like all these different props. And then Bill Hader brought nothing because he's just so good at impressions and funny. And each one was like jealous of the other one. Each one was like, fuck, I should have brought props. And then the other one was like, this guy doesn't even need anything. Like, what the hell? That was pretty good stuff. But yeah, no, you could just listen to all the Lonely Island songs or go fucking rip through all the digital shorts. Shy Ronnie is amazing.
Yeah.
Both Natalie Raps are good. Like a Boss is
on
good.
a boat.
On a Boat was amazing.
Right.
The Captain Jack Sparrow one is
Just in my
amazing.
pants. We're not even
These are my
mentioning.
pants.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Also, not on the show, but the
Short film, as I recall.
the Mark McGuire, Jose Canseco digital poem that they made for Netflix
that thing
fucking
is awesome.
killed me.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Do you know what movie, if someone says they haven't seen it, I stop what I'm doing and make them
Popstar
watch
Never
it?
Stop Stopping.
Popstar.
Hot Rod.
Oh, Hot Rod
good.
is also great.
Yep.
Hot Rod also bomb.
In my past.
All right.
And then also a big part of Lonely Island is Akiva Schaffer. So it's him, Yorma Takomi. So they would all write it, and then Akiva Schaffer would be the one that would edit it. And he wants no fat on any of these. He wants them to be 2 minutes in and out. He doesn't want you to like question, is this bad?
Dude, Yorma directed MacGruber.
Yeah.
He did.
Greatest director. of all
And Chip and Dale.
And
Underrated.
Akiva's going to be directing the Naked Gun movie.
He
Oh my
is.
God, I can't.
Can't wait for Naked Gun. That's what everyone's saying.
Could be good. All right, let's get into our top 10 SNL cast members of all time. Dave.
I got Fred Armisen at number 10. Now,
Awesome.
again, just a complete weirdo,
Chameleon.
but everything he did worked.
Yeah.
Even like the
Dios
guy
mío.
that even I was gonna say, even that one where he was just like him playing the Timothy. Ay, Dios mío. An incredible one of my favorite sketches that it was Ashton Kutcher was hosting. They did the father of the bride talk, and he's like, "Oh, my band," and you think like his band's gonna play like some like, yeah, they're like all these like old yuppie guys, and Dave Grohl is playing drums, and they do this song "Fist Fight in the Parking Lot."
Yeah.
Not only is that hilarious, the song's amazing.
He's a great musician. He's like
Yeah.
off the charts good.
But it's like this like quintessential 80s, 70s, 80s punk song. And they're just like kicking tables over and like whatever. And it's actually like him, like Hader's playing guitar, Hader's playing bass, Dave Grohl's playing drums, and they're just going for it.
That's good.
I
But
think
he's like-
Fred Armisen, other than like maybe a couple people at the top of the list might hold the record for getting other people to break the most.
Definitely.
He'll even break the sketch just to look at someone to try to get them to break.
He would also like they used him to play pretty much any race, any gender, and then he would always buy into it. And then I think
his commitment to every bit.
My favorite sketch that should have been a recurring character and wasn't was it was Andy Samberg, Sigourney Weaver, and I think Jason Sudeikis. They were a family. Andy Samberg might have been like 10 years old. He brings his friend over named Riley, and Riley refers to everyone and everything as a bitch, and it is the funniest sketch of, oh, what do you want, bitch?
He also does the thing, he and Kristen Wiig, where they're the singing team.
Yep.
They clearly haven't written the songs together, and so one tries to sing and the other one tries to sing with them, and they don't even know what they're singing. Yeah, no, he had a stretch. He was on a long time too, and he could do whatever.
Oh, he did great Ice-T as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God, and his facial expressions as Prince.
Yeah,
like they have like Beyonce and Prince, where he just did like the Prince like faces.
Little closed mouth thing, like the
yeah. I can't. Yeah, there's no way I can even try to do it.
Oh, he did George Lopez too. That was also great.
Why? Like, you know,
that's a low rider.
All right, number 9.
At number 9, the best of the Weekend Update hosts. I mean, he did get fired from the job. You could look past that. And he was pretty good in sketches, but Norm Macdonald probably has the best delivery, best writing, and the most memorable of the Weekend Update.
I agree. Yeah, he's the best.
And I would say not on SNL, but I might go on a limb and say like the funniest person on this list. I read his book. Actually, take that back. If you ever want to read his book, like his memoir, get the audio book because he reads it, and it's one of the funniest things. Like Norm Macdonald's one of the funniest people to ever live, and I steal this from him all the time. So anytime someone like tells him a plan, he responds with, "Do I get a gun?" And people are like, "What?" And he's just like, "That's something you should ask." Like, it's like, "All right, we're gonna do this. And we're gonna. All right, do I get a gun?"
His book is framed as like a biography, and then very soon, early on, you realize that it's like 30% biography and him just making shit up, which makes it even funnier.
It's framed around this whole story about him going to Vegas and like losing all his money and not having.
Also, talk about putting stank on a fucking impression. His Bob Dole was great.
Bob Dole, George Ferguson.
And,
George Ferguson. That's right, dude. It's a big hat. It's funny.
Yeah, it's a big hat.
We also. A few years ago, we had Colin Quinn on the radio show, Bragg, and another guy I liked. I thought he was good at Weekend Update. You know what
I didn't like? I didn't like when he did this. Like a joke didn't land, and you'd go, like he'd like shrug his shoulders.
Everyone had to have their shtick, though. Dave.
I hate it.
I asked him about like being the next Weekend Update guy after Norm, and he was like, "Yeah, it's brutal." He's like, he gets fired. Like everybody loved Norm.
And Norm was still in the cast too. He was just fired from Weekend Update.
Right. Yeah. And then here comes Colin Quinn. He's like, "Yeah, it's a brutal spot to be in." All right, coming in at number 8 is probably everybody's favorite cast member that was on the cast with him, and that would be Phil Hartman. And one of the many, sadly, people on this list and SNL alums that died way too soon. Crazy story that happened with Phil Hartman, but he was like the anchor, and everybody's sense has sort of been compared to him. Like Sudeikis might have been like him, even Beck Bennett a little bit, sort of like a Phil Hartman. He had all the characters like Frankenstein and
Frozen Caveman Lawyer. I'm just an unfrozen caveman lawyer.
But yeah, I mean, some could even have him maybe higher on the list, but we got him.
He also did great impressions. He had Jack Nicholson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, and he probably is, like you said, the best straight man on the show, where he is gonna give you that same like steadfast face and not do anything goofy while everyone else around him is completely unhinged.
They did a Mother's Day thing too, where it was like his mom was talking to him and he kept doing all these like weird voices. And he was so good at playing like different characters that his mom's like, "Just talk to me." And he's like, the joke was he didn't remember what his own voice was because all he does is do other voices. So he didn't know what his own voice.
He's also in the Matt Foley sketch where he is the father.
Yes.
Where he is just responding to Matt Foley in a completely normal way.
Yeah,
right. Chris Farley yells in his face.
He's like, "Come on,
Matt. We got Willie Shakespeare over here." We actually want him to write. Well, what? He's just yelling directly in his face.
And then he like hugs the kids afterwards. He's like, I'm so sorry. I love you. All right. Mac.
Number 7. I think some of you have got some splaining to do here with this. Is Eddie Murphy.
It's
Dave, you forgot. Dave, you forgot him?
Listen,
I know him super low.
I know we all missed his time on the show, but we can't ignore what everyone else says about what was going on then. He began carrying the show for a 5-year period on his shoulders, and he started that as a 19-year-old. There are only like 2 or 3 other people on this whole list that can claim the utter dominance at that Max Funny level that Eddie Murphy had. So I'm stunned to see him at 7.
I am too.
Buckwheat, Gumby, Mr. Robinson, Velvet Jones, White Like
I
Me,
love Velvet
Bill
Jones.
Cosby.
Like when I
James
started
Brown,
my list,
Sammy
I
Davis
had
Jr.,
our number 1 guy 1, Eddie Murphy 2,
Stevie
and I was
Wonder.
like, everyone else is coming after them.
A hot tub, dude.
Hot Tub is legend. Maybe for me, and this is a mistake on my part, I didn't think he was on the show for 5 seasons. I thought it was a lot quicker than that.
I think it's 80 to 84.
It
I'm
is.
pretty sure. So 4.5.
So
5
I thought it was I thought it was 1 or 2 years.
But not only that, it's 80 to 84, and he was in every sketch. He was the star of the show. It was him and Piscopo.
Yeah, it literally was. He and Piscopo and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which I was shocked didn't make the list either. I had her on my list. But this was one where there was a time, I forget what happened. Somebody canceled or somebody couldn't do it.
And he hosted the show.
He hosted the show as a cast member. And they got pissed at it because he said, like, live from New York, it's like the Eddie Murphy show. He said something like that. And they're like, you can't fucking say that. But yeah, I think me, Mac, and Goo each had him second. I want to say Lanny had him.
I had him top 10.
You had him 21st.
Did I really?
That's not top 10. I would have felt better if you just forgot him.
Yeah.
Why?
I was
top 10. That's right where he belongs.
No, he's not.
First?
21st.
No, he's in the top 10 total.
He should be top 5.
Should have been 2.
He should be number 2.
Just split
Arguably
hairs
number
here.
1. Like he's the only person that would have the argument to take number 1.
And not that it matters because he's not doing this list and I didn't see it. But like my dad was like, when I was experiencing the Will Ferrell highs, he was like, but Eddie Murphy, you should have seen Eddie Murphy sort of thing. So
yeah. Lanny had him low too. He had him 10. Well, not 21.
Yeah,
not
21, Dave.
21 sank it.
It worked out. It's fine.
Do you want to hear the people Davey thought was better than?
I do. I think also you'll get the most comments. So if you post this list, if you post this top 50, the most comments that you will get is Eddie Murphy at 7.
Yeah, I know. But that's why you make these lists, right? Controversy.
It's all my fault. Right? Every time we do a fucking list show with you two, there's some issue with my list.
Always clickbait Davey, yellow
Holy
journalism
fuck.
Davey, always trying to get the people's ears.
Hey, Davey knows what gets the clicks.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't even do this on purpose. I hate doing these things because these lists are fucking impossible.
How? They're not. They're not. We're doing a fine job. We got a little,
We were doing a fine job.
Off the beaten path here. Eddie Murphy's a little low. That's all right. I don't think he's going to see this list.
No, he's not going to talk to you. I'm going to get the David Spade treatment now.
You know what I do love is, so on my television, National Lampoon's channel, whenever I turn the TV on, Norbit, always on.
That's good.
Hey, to Davey's credit, there are 7 good flavors of Doritos, too. So there can be things that up to number 7 is good.
Thanks, Mac.
Rasputia. That's who's in the movie.
What?
All right.
She's in Norbit. That's who he plays in Norbit, Dave.
All right, Dave, you got to recover here with number 6.
I got to recover here. So
Davey thinks Bobby Moynihan's better at SNL.
Ooh. And I like Bobby Moynihan.
I like Bobby.
Do you guys want to finish this yourselves?
Why didn't you ask Bobby Moynihan, who was better on SNL? Who's up?
Chevy Chase was higher. Chevy Chase was on for 1 season. I'm not happy with the list. I'm not happy.
Davey had just recently watched season 1, though. That's why.
And the best of Bobby Moynihan.
Who's up for number 6?
I don't even want to do it. I don't even want to do it now. Because everything I say to this point, was she funnier than Eddie Murphy?
Well, yeah, you think so.
I do.
Looking at your list.
On Saturday Night Live? Yeah, I do. Is Eddie Murphy one of the funniest people? I'm talking about Kristen Wiig. at number 6.
Okay.
So our highest ranked female on the list, and absolutely should take that distinction.
Agreed.
Yeah, she's
on
the
this
best.
and just again, just an incredibly like naturally funny person. Who even when not trying to do too much is still the funniest person probably in the sketch. And when she's really going for it, is absolutely the funniest person in the room. And you could, take your pick at whatever recurring character or favorite. The Lawrence Welk thing with like the little hands. Dunice, so good.
Baby hands.
So good.
Yeah, I guess during the first time that they did that sketch, she just showed up with the baby hands at the table,
ready to go,
and they're like, "Okay,
forehead.
There we go."
I'm so impressed because she's like a really attractive person, and she's amazing at making herself not look attractive.
Anything for comedy.
Gilly.
I didn't like Gilly. I love the Target lady though.
Target Lady was great.
Amazing. So she like auditioned with Target Lady. So the story goes, this is one of the SNL docs that I was watching. They were like, every single character that she auditioned with was on the show, like either that season or the next. Like they were like, this could be on the show, this can be on the show, and like everything was.
Also,
like,
her and Bill Hader were unbelievable at doing like 1940s impressions, 1930s. Her "Don't Make Me Dance" lady is hilarious. Yep. She also did the Penelope, the nervous one-upper, which if you watch her do it, is some of the best character stuff on the show, where she just talks straight without breathing for a minute.
That's great.
The chemistry not only with Hader, but like with Armisen too. Like
Jason Sudeikis with the
that 5 or 6 year
a-hole couple
is so fucking good.
All of them.
Her doing the Liza Minnelli turning on a lamp is a really good thing too.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good. All right, Mac.
Coming in at number 5, her castmate, Bill Hader. For me, Bill Hader ended up 3 on my list after the top 2. To me, he was the person that I was thinking about. Like, he just makes me smile when you start to think about his sketches. And I do think the first couple of years he kind of stumbled out of the gate, but once they figured out what he was great at, it was no stopping him from there. I think he's also like he was so good on the show that I couldn't watch Barry for like 2 years. I couldn't get into it because I'm thinking about the Bill Hader sketches and how funny he was. Now he's playing a somewhat funny character. He also is the first male on the show to receive a nomination, Emmy nomination, since Eddie Murphy. So that's something as well.
Stefan, Vinny Viducci, Devin from the Californians, Herb Welsh. He's the old reporter that would slam you in the head.
Great. Yeah,
Bill Topinski. And then you get into, he was such a good impressionist. So sometimes you have cast members on the show that could just do impressions or just do characters. He nailed both of them. Yeah. His Al Pacino, Clint Eastwood, Dave Matthews, David Bowie, Harvey Fierstein, Vincent Price, Lindsey Buckingham, Keith Morrison. That's the Dateline one. So he was also amazing at, he would find something that no one else was doing an impression of, like Dateline, and he's like, I want to do that sketch.
And you're forgetting probably my favorite impression when he was Alan Alda.
Alan Alda,
such a weird
no reason to do an Alan Alda at all.
But it worked.
No, it was good. He and this also sort of a wave. We were talking about some guys that hit it real big, other guys that didn't do anything. Between Sandberg, Sudeikis, Hader, and even Forte, all took it from SNL and had like massively popular TV shows after the fact, and like hit or miss movies, but like all massive TV shows. So Hader and Wig actually tied for 5th, and then
I think that's perfect. They actually should. I think those two are the most intertwined and so similar and deserve that spot.
And because if you look back at that era, they didn't dominate the other. They were both the alpha there, So that's pretty funny.
And I know Bill Murray's been nominated, but has anyone on this list won an Oscar?
Robert Downey Jr. was in the cast and he won an Oscar.
No, but
I think he's the only one.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that like
the only SNL guy.
I think he's the only SNL person to win an Oscar.
If anyone on this list is going to win an Oscar, it's going to be Bill Hader.
Yeah. To be fair, Adam Sandler should have won one.
For what? Punch Drunk Love?
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems?
He should have.
He
He should have gotten nominated for that.
Eddie Murphy's been nominated, right?
I don't
Yes,
know.
for Dreamgirls.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
okay.
All right. Wait,
Did he
so
win?
interesting.
I don't think he did win.
I don't think he did win.
No, because when
Bill
when
Murray
Robert
get
Downey Jr.
nominated?
won,
He
that
got
was the thing. He
nominated.
was the first SNL person.
Murray
to
got
win.
nominated, right, for like Lost
Yeah.
in Translation or one of those
Yeah.
ones. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, number 4.
Number 4. We've already talked about some of the other people that have done amazing characters on the show, but I believe the one that was the best at creating characters, writing his own characters, and then taking those and making not quite Sandler level billion-dollar movies, but Mike Myers, who gave us Dieter, Linda Richman, Philip the Bath Boy, Simon the Hyper Hypo, and of course, Wayne Campbell.
You flipped it. Simon was the Bath Kid. Philip was the Hyper Hypo.
Yeah.
Idiot.
You sure about that? Sure about that's not why?
Yep. Philip, hypo, chained to a goddamn thing.
And I remember because the theme's, and you know my name is Simon.
It's a very odd sketch with him and Macaulay Culkin.
Apparently,
Not good.
also a genuine prick. Apparently, sort of like Chevy Chase, people fucking hated Mike Myers. Yeah.
I watched a documentary recently called Comedy Punks.
Nice.
It was about the kids in the hall. And Mike Myers actually got to start like doing like improv and stuff because he desperately wanted to be in the Kids in the Hall and they wouldn't let him in.
Makes sense. Yeah, there's a story going. So Wayne was his character that he brought with him, and it was just Wayne. Though it was Wayne's World, and it was just Wayne. And then Lorne Michaels was the one that was like, "Hey, you kind of need like a sidekick." And then so Mike Myers was like, "I'll pick Dana Carvey because he's the best guy on the cast." So he picked Dana Carvey and he was Garth. Then they greenlight the movie.
He didn't want him.
Didn't want Dana Carvey on the movie.
Really?
Yeah, didn't want him.
And
it's only so good because of Dana.
He stole Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
And then those guys didn't talk for 20 years. And like now they do, and now they claim to be.
Now that you say that Dr. Evil thing does ring a bell.
And so people fucking hated that too,
so
because
that's Dana's impression of Lauren, right?
And he would even do the pinky when he
the whole thing was dead on accurate, and he didn't give him credit. He didn't even put him in the movie. He didn't do anything. And so they didn't talk to each other. And then obviously comedians' biggest pet peeve is stealing shit. So then a lot of other people didn't like Mike Myers. But I guess even when he was on the show, he was like a lot to handle before he even became famous with like Wayne, like super famous with Wayne's World and Austin Powers. But
having said all of that, he was great on the show.
Oh, I agree.
He was very good on the show.
All right. This might kick him in the balls. Number 3, Mac, is
this is fitting.
He hates this.
After that lead-in, at number 3 is Dana Carvey. I'm stoked he's this high. I actually had him one spot lower on my own list. Carvey's first season in '86 coincided with Hartman, Jan Hooks, and then a couple of other real good cast members, and it brought the show out of that like post, depression with not having Murphy for a couple seasons there. Church Lady, Garth, Hans and Franz. He did a George H.W., but even better, he did a Ross Perot.
Ross Perot was so good.
He would do George H.W. and Ross Perot at the same time.
Yeah.
And then David Spade would stand in like the live scenes for him.
And my mom's favorite sketch of all time, chopping broccoli.
So good.
I've known that sketch forever.
Massive
he just
head wound
exudes
Harry.
Funny. He's
Massive head wound
naturally
Harry
funny. He doesn't know how to not be funny. Like we did talk a little bit before and just now, like for some reason his talents just didn't translate to the big screen the way it did for Sandler and Mike Myers. And I have always felt Carvey is funnier than Myers based on SNL stuff. But you can't argue, obviously, Myers' success.
It's not even close. It's like obviously he gets the box office that goes along with Wayne's World. Dana Carvey does, but he's obviously more like the co-star. But Carvey also came in at a time where there was like 8 people on the cast. It was such a small cast, but he was in like every sketch. And like Church Lady was like a big one. Then all those different impressions that he did. He also then left and did the Dana Carvey show.
That's right.
Which, if it came out now, or if it came out when there was like streaming services, or if it came out at a different time,
Comedy Central too.
It would have been. It was on ABC. I watched it live as a kid.
It was after Home Improvement.
It was so funny. It was so funny, and it was.
That's where the ambiguously gay duo started. Was on that show.
Dad, I don't want to die. Next up on the Dana Carvey Diet Mug Root Beer.
So good. It was like Bob Odenkirk, I think, was a writer too. It was like
Steve Carell was on
there.
Wasn't there a sketch? So the show was sponsored by Taco Bell one week, and they had a sketch where everyone got diarrhea from eating Taco Bell.
So good. I mean, it got canceled after 1 year. They had a sketch that I still remember as a kid, like crying, laughing. It was a Wizard of Oz sketch. and I forget which one of the characters, you know how they all like need something. One of them needed like an ass, like I guess didn't have an ass. It was like, if I only had an ass. And it was like, as a 10-year-old kid or however old I was when it came out, it was like the funniest thing to me.
That was that movie. Was it Too Funny to Fail or something like that? And like the writing crew like on that show was like, they're all stars now.
Yeah. Oh, it's loaded. But yeah, you're right. He wasn't the star of any movies, wasn't star of any sitcoms, but listening to his podcast a little bit, I think he was one of those guys that would do like corporate gigs, like for like stand-up comedy. And so I think he's pretty comfortable, but he doesn't have like the money.
But
like,
I mean, so it was him and Phil Hartman. They pretty much saved the show. Like we said it with a couple different casts and people.
They did. Yeah.
They stepped in when nobody wanted to either be on the show as a host or nobody wanted to be associated with the show, and they saved it. And then if you listen to Dana Carvey talk about how he comes up with his either impressions or characters, like how he gets into those characters, it's so funny.
Yeah, and he was sick apparently, and that's why he wasn't at the 50th, which I'm sure he was pissed about because
he had the flu, right? Something like that.
Yeah, he would have been all over it. Coming in at number 2 on our list is Chris Farley. So obviously Matt Foley and the Chippendales sketch and Gap Girls and Schmitzke and just, I've used this word a lot, but like an absolute powerhouse. Like anytime he is in a sketch, like your attention is solely on Chris Farley. And another one, like to Davey's point about like the Nirvana effect, like Belushi, who knows where Farley's career would have gone and whatever else. The movies that he was in, I loved, well, specifically Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. And then like
Beverly Hill Ninja.
Well, I was gonna say, well, no, I didn't love that one, but like when he like popped up in, Billy Madison, crushed it for like the one scene.
Dirty Work.
I was just about his
bit my nose off.
2 minutes of screen time in Dirty Work, and he absolutely steals the show.
But he, out of all that whole cast, everybody looks back so fondly on, with like Rock and Schneider and Spade and Sandler. Sandler's probably the next closest, but the guy that actually got the most laughs while on SNL was pretty clear cut Farley.
And I would say they've kind of beaten it to death now, but it is important to mention, like at least for me, that the Chippendale sketch is probably the funniest sketch in the 50 years of SNL.
Yeah.
I remember watching that for the first time. And again, it was like my friend had like videotaped it and we watched it like on Sunday or Monday or whatever. And like I couldn't breathe. Like I remember like just watching him do that. Like, and there's never been really anything like it.
I would say
people have like tried to do that. But
I would say that there's 3 sketches that if no one has ever seen the show and you say, okay, show me one of the sketches, you would look at either the Chippendales, Matt Foley, or you would look at Cowbell. I think those are the 3 that you would point to be like, watch this sketch.
Yeah, I'm feeling, damn. I had him 9th. I feel like I had him too low. Yeah, I don't want to get Davey. I don't want to get canceled like Davey.
He still came in second though. That's pretty high.
I still made the top 10 and everyone's cool with it. Weird.
All right, number 1, Dave. Why don't you wrap up this bad boy?
No, I don't want to. No, I mean it's pretty clear. I mean, who's the only person we've kind of left off the list that people have been waiting for? Number 1 is
Chris Kattan.
Oh,
we already did Chris Kattan, right? No, sorry.
And again, somebody who had a run, and again, from being like the 90s to like probably 2010 was like literally the funniest person in the world. And it wasn't really that close. I remember like Sandler movies have kind of like dipped off at that point, so they weren't, whatever. But this guy from his time on SNL, and I think his first movie was Anchorman, right? Like his first like starring like big.
No, he was in Old School right before.
Was old,
but then he started Anchorman.
Old School, like 03, where he was
Zoolander.
But he was kind of like a secondary character, and Anchorman was like the big thing, right? Yeah. And then Elf,
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
I think that was that was
hilarious in that.
He and Tom Stewart were so good in that.
But I remember seeing him in that movie, be like, "Oh, that's the dude from SNL." Like that's, and then Old
Even
School,
in the first Austin Powers.
I was going to say. So I was about to say, I think Austin Powers was still like the big comedy at that point. But Will Ferrell is hilarious in Austin Powers.
Right.
He's also, to my recollection, the only SNL cast member that has 2 best of DVDs.
3.
Oh, he's 3. They made a third one.
3 best ofs.
All right, so
Wow.
he had two like when we
Bill Brash.
were in like college, and like dude, Bill Brasky's great.
Bill Brasky's fucking incredible.
Cowbell, Spartan cheerleaders.
Yep.
Lava. Marty
I'm
Culp.
wearing the diaper.
The Culps were
Harry
the family
Carey.
earlier.
Harry Carey.
Steve Butabi, Harry Carey. Get off the shed. That's one of his first big ones too.
Great.
The Jeffrey supervisor.
Is that what
with
he's
the little cell
grilling?
phone
Get off
you-
the shed.
Yeah,
Get off the
grilling is
shed.
get off the shed. Jeffrey's is the little cell phone.
What about the guy that's in the that's the father? That he's like, I drive a Dodge Stratus. People
Yeah,
are scared of me.
It's so good.
He also, so I already mentioned Dr. Poop with Tim Meadows. The doctor in that sketch is Dr. Beeman, and it's Will Ferrell telling Molly Shannon and Chris Parnell that he lost their baby. He's like, well, you could always hop in the sack and make another one.
So
And Chris Parnell, this might be the only sketch I've ever seen him laugh at.
He was also the Robert Goulet stuff got a lot of fun, especially
Goulet.
after the best of came out, because we just watched that over and over again. His devil, a lot of different guys have played the devil. He played the best, where he's trying to give Garth Brooks a song. I sing those songs to Cece all the time, and she fucking thinks they're
I
all.
was going to say, you sing those songs to me.
Yeah, I
The-
do.
What's the name of the sketch where
I just
They call
been
me
bit by the
Whispers.
love
Love
bat.
comes
that,
out,
and
he's
it's driving
Marcus.
me
Marcus.
mad.
That's
Jorkus.
Harry Carey.
Marcus.
Wait, which one are you talking about, Mac?
Oh no, I was talking about he gets birthed as a full-grown man.
Oh, and Charlie Sheen is the doctor.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it was hot in there.
There's also then there's like the nude male model that does like for
Oh,
art
the
class.
the
bird-
post 9/11 thong scene.
No. So
No, but
there's
that's a different one though.
Yeah.
a different one. There's one where he is there and like
He's
they
the model.
bring
It's like this
the
is
model,
the
yeah.
thinker and this is the stinker.
Yeah, and he's like eating nachos. He's
Yeah.
like, and he put cheese all over him. He's like, I let the body heat melt the jack right on. And they're like, all right, get out.
Alex Trebek, George W. Bush, Saddam Hussein, and underrated character slash is Janet Reno. They would do Janet
Janet
Reno
Reno's
dance
dance
parties.
That's so good.
What an idea for a sketch.
Keefe references it more than anyone else, which is why I love it, because I'd never ever heard anyone reference it before. But him as the horrible boss with Pierce Brosnan, he has so many good one-liners in that sketch. Ordinarily, I'd whip your nuts with a car antenna. Like he's just, it's like beat after beat in that
I'm
sketch. It's so
actually
good.
gonna murder you. You're actually gonna murder
Oh
you.
yes.
I love it. I love it.
So there's
Tom Ferguson.
the one that with the Dodge Stratus.
I love
There's
that.
a second one. He does a second one where he starts talking about his Mitsubishi Galant.
So good.
It's like he goes, I have a covered parking space for my Mitsubishi Galant. Big time stuff.
He's like,
Big time stuff.
I'm a division manager. I am in charge of 3 people. It's like Sarah Michelle Gellar's like, I don't give a fuck, Dad.
What
Oh, this
drives
doesn't
you
have to
crazy
do with
about
Will
that?
Ferrell. It's you just mentioned the cars. I just thought of Will Forte demanding that MacGruber drives a Miata.
So good. With the fucking tape deck that he pulls out or whatever it is.
The Blaupunkt?
Yeah, he pulls it out everywhere he goes.
That was the first removable stereo, and those things were like German engineered. Those things are still to this day unbelievable sound.
Sir, do you want me to check your stereo?
My
Fucking
Blaupunkt.
give
The this finger. I don't know why this is funny. It's not the fist. It's like
yeah, it's like up
the
the ear,
crooked
like that.
fingers. Yeah.
Oh, so good. Yeah, no, Will Ferrell, no surprise, was number 1 on all 5 of our lists. So he was a unanimous number 1. I don't think you can really go wrong here. And that's also a guy that was great on the show and hit it big. And was a massive, massive success. All right, there you go. There is our list, our top 50 SNL cast members for 50 years. Let us know what you think at Dork Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. You can email us, dorkpodcast@gmail.com. Mac and Goo, where can the people find you guys?
You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. We're at Mac and Goo Podcast. This week, I think we're going to have a little bit of a smorgasbord. I don't really know what we're going to do.
Did you see Death of a Unicorn?
I did.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that then.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Let us know how it is.
It's not that good.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah, Dave, what do we got coming up next week? Is Yellow Jackets done? Do I have to binge Yellow Jackets
Oh,
maybe?
Jesus, I might have to too.
Okay.
Shit.
All right. Well,
It's-
something to look forward to.
Have you
All
guys?
right.
So I dipped out like halfway through season 2. Is it?
You're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
I finished season 2 and liked it enough, but I've heard only bad things about 3, but I think I'm still gonna watch it just because I like the characters.
Yeah.
I've been doing I've been watching Banshee.
Oh,
Never-
the
You know what I'm
Anthony
gonna
Starr
start?
show.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I never watched it live.
I've never seen it.
Kicks ass.
What I'm hearing good things about, what I'm actually going to start is the studio.
I
It's
watched
okay.
I watched the
I
first,
watched
two
the first
episodes.
episode.
I'm kind of with you. I watched 2 episodes. I feel like it's also okay. But
Is that
yeah,
the Seth Rogen show?
yeah.
It reminds me of it's like Curb meets Entourage.
Ugh.
That's weird.
It
Remember
is
when we all thought Entourage was good?
not me. Never.
Because it's great.
Hand of God. Never thought
Vinny
it was good.
Chase.
It come
Hashtag
out when
my
I was
Aquaman.
like 13. So
That's
Yeah,
what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
a
was
little bit of
thinking,
an out. I never thought it was good. I remember people hyping it up, and I'm like, this stinks. I'm like, I do like Jeremy Piven, so shout out to Jeremy Piven. He was good, but everything else.
until I didn't. And you know what show was like that for me was the OC. I never got into the OC.
Sitting
People
on the
kept telling me about.
sun, looking
Ooh.
out for number
That's a hot
one.
16 drama. though.
California.
Yeah,
here
yeah,
we come.
I didn't watch OC because I watched One Tree Hill. I had to pick a lane.
Wait, I'll tell you why. So my first job teaching was when the OC like came out. It was like right after college, and this kid who I worked with, who I fucking hated. Like I hated this kid. Like I don't like hate anybody, but this kid sucked. Right? He would invite kids to his apartment to watch the OC with them, so he would be like cool. This
That's not
kid
cool.
sucked.
That's not
Like,
allowed.
boundaries, man. You know what I mean?
Also,
Like,
so not to spoil it, but there was the very emotional finale of that show
yeah.
was a shot for shot remake essentially on
Season 2.
SNL.
Yeah,
no,
season 2.
finale. My bad. The season 2 finale.
David
was
Sandberg
hyper dramatic, and it was Sandberg and Hader, and it was
Yeah. shooting each other.
And they're like, hey, remember when Ryan's brother got shot? Let's make a sketch out of that.
Yeah, instead of watching both the OC and One Tree Hill, I just watched One Tree Hill and would argue with people that watch the OC. I found that better for me.
all right,
It's better
dudes.
for my life.
That'll do it for us. Tell a friend, tell a dork, and we will talk to you soon.
The hashtag Dork Podcast.